Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning, Dirk. Yes, Andy?
How's it?
Hi,
Barry, how's it? How's it, Simon?
Morning, hi Dirk, hi everyone.
How was golf at the links on the Alan Gray Golf Day?
Windy as usual, stock standard. We came second last, but I was surprisingly decent for myself. Yeah, so it was okay.
Okay.
Mixed bag. But yeah, the course was good, eh? Nice to play there.
Yeah, it's starting to get into good shape.
Yeah, looking very good.
Are you away in December?
We're gonna try. Hey, we're supposed to be down in Hermanus. That's where we visit my folks each year. But we'll have to see what date we can get away. We're not too sure at the moment.
Okay, well,
I'm assuming you
let me know.
No, we'll do. I'm assuming you're gonna have a full house.
Yeah, fairly full, not completely full.
Okay.
Hi, Cindy. Hi, Brian. Diane. See a lot of people still shy with their cameras. Are you Freddie?
Hello.
Dirk. Hello, everyone.
Morning.
Morning, guys. Just give it a few more
Morning,
minutes, I
Dirk.
think.
Come on.
Another minute or
Morning.
so. What's the weather like around the country? Cindy, what's it like in Cape Town?
It's very strange. It's overcast. Well, not cloudy. I'm not sure what's happening today. Yeah, strange
Freddie and
time of the
Bloem?
year here.
No, it's a bit overcast. We had a bit of rain over the weekend, so yeah, it's nice.
Okay, good. Anyone in Joburg?
Pretoria, it's rainy.
Pretoria. Is it raining?
Yeah,
You need the
soaking,
rain, eh?
actually. Yeah, we're so glad about it. Yes, after the heat last week,
Yeah, I believe you guys need rain badly. Got friends up in Kruger and they say it's very dry.
last week there was temperatures in Komatipoort, Nelspruit side 40 degrees. So yeah, no, that was bad.
Wow. Jeez. Okay, guys. Yeah, I thought I would just make this the last event of the year because I know historically December is quite difficult for everybody. Things get busy and people go on leave at different times. So yeah. So sorry, this message. Okay, no, it's the read AI thing. So what I thought we'd do, I haven't got too much planned. Well, I have got stuff planned for today, but I thought I'm quite interested. If I can, it's not a trick question, but if I could ask you all in the chat section just to type in one or two reasons why you're in this profession or industry. Just trust me with this. Hi, June. Hi, Becky.
Hi,
Morning,
Dirk. How are you?
everyone.
June, Becky, you've just arrived. I've just asked everyone just to type in the chat section one or two reasons why they are in this professional industry.
Sure.
It's not a trick. Okay, we've got June. Love educating and serving people. Cindy, I want to see people make the most of their life and to do that well. Simon, help people make an impact on individual families. Becky, I enjoy talking about financial literacy. Freddie, joy I get out of helping clients. Sorry, that was Freddie, not Freddie. Mel, want to help people find freedom in their finances. Love seeing people's finances change when they take control. Okay, Yondela, my wife's to provide people with peace of mind. Cherise, enjoy helping people, help clients to be in control of their finances. One area of your life that touches all of the other areas of your life, and therefore best way to control and manage the life you live. Dom, passionate about sharing the knowledge I've gained to help others achieve their financial goals. Okay. Barry, enjoy people in areas. Okay. Vulnerable. Good. Diane, the journey of each person, supporting, encouraging people's dreams. Mary, got you completely by default, and here I am, but I enjoy making a difference in people's lives. Helping people live more fulfilling lives. That's Ferdy. Carl, interaction with different people and finding solutions for bettering in specific situation clients find themselves in, not necessarily just finances. Marguerite, I want to make a difference in people's lives. Okay. Great, guys. That's exactly what I thought it would be. And I think probably what most of you guys thought it would be. So, I mean, it's fantastic. And I mean, I think that is the difference between the kind of financial planners, lifestyle planners, as we like to call them, operating in the industry now versus perhaps what it would have looked like 20 years ago. And I think a lot of that was there 20 years ago, but it probably wasn't cool to say 20 years ago. Would have probably been more about investments or even making money. None of those things are bad. But one thing that's very clear, and I ask this question because it's a question I need to ask myself at times as well, after over 30 years of doing this. One thing that hasn't come up, and I think we need to talk about it, is none of us have put in there because I want to build personal wealth. Because I want to better my own life. I know indirectly, yes, by helping others. And the reason I say this is because I think the danger that a lot of us can find ourselves in is that we are so focused on simply just doing the right thing, because this industry, and I'm just going to call it an industry because it is because so much of this industry has such negative connotations about it. And we have the view, and there is the view, but I think most of us have a strong view that a lot of the public see us as kind of vultures and people who are in it for themselves. So it's something that we kind of hide away, and we kind of discount, and we try so hard not to be what we think that people think we are, that we can get caught up too much in the part of doing what we actually do, and not enough in actually looking at the reality, which is a simple reality for each one of us, is we do need to build our own wealth. We do need to feed our families. We do need to build a business. And I think it's something we need to chat about, because the reality is that if you look at the really successful businesses in SA and abroad, sure, there are the businesses that are simply just focused on making a whole truckload of money. But there are also a lot of businesses that do really brilliant work, in kind of lifestyle financial planning, and yet are very profitable and do make a lot of money. And I think maybe especially with a lot of the people who work on their own in their business or in their practice, which are a lot of us, even if we've got smaller groups, the focus is so much on the client, which is it should be, but there's always often I think there's a lack of focus on actually running a profitable business. And I know this is something that have and still fall fault of. And obviously there's the one extent where we focus completely on profits, and then the other extent where we focus completely on just what we're trying to do for clients, regardless of the financial situation that it puts us in. So yeah, I've thought about this the last while, and I just thought it's something we should address, because I do know that the only way that we can add more value to more people's lives out there is if we are building businesses which are sustainable financially, and that we can even potentially grow. The only way we can do better is to remain in business, and the only way we can remain in business is to run a profitable business. So I'd just like to put that out there, and just any comments or thoughts that any of you guys may have.
Yeah, Dirk, I'd like to add something in terms of talking about business and profitability. It's also not just about financial profitability. It's about time profitability for me. That the business or the industry that we're in allows me to be flexible enough to live my life with some degree of freedom, and still being able to interact and add value to clients. The fact that we can work virtually, so location is not an issue. We can be anywhere and we can continue working. And I've made a conscious decision in that I sort of allocate. I'm an outdoorsman and I do a lot of outdoor sports, and I allocate time to doing what I want to do when I can do it. And a portion, I plan my diary around it. I do wind sports and I plan my diary around the wind. And that for me is a big profitability thing for me in my industry. It's not just about the money, it's about the freedom that comes with it. And I translate that across into people's lives as well. And that it's not necessarily just about money. It's living the best life you can with what you have.
Thanks, Shannon. I get that, and I agree with you on that. Now, I do agree. I would, however, say that for a lot of people starting off, we first need to, before we can look at our time profitability, we need to be making profit, in monetary terms, so that we can actually survive the business. Because if we, and I think, I mean, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think a lot of you guys are going to hate me, but the newer generation, I'm not labeling you, I'm just saying, like Shannon, you and I may be a bit older. Cindy, I think you kind of near us. Versus, I know, like a lot of the younger planners, the reality is we just have a different outlook on life, which is absolutely normal and absolutely healthy. And I think a lot of the younger crowd value far more the quality of life that they want to have while they're working. A lot of our generation we like to sacrifice everything for work. I'm not saying it doesn't occur in the younger generation either, but I do think there's a definite difference. So I would agree with you on that. But I think, yeah, I mean, the monetary profitability does come first. Andre, you got your hand up.
Hi, Dirk. Yes. Basically, yeah, you struck on something there that's exactly.
Sorry, Andre, we can hardly hear you, but I don't know if your mic's working or not.
Is that better now?
Yeah, I think if you lean closer, that's better. Thanks, but.
Yeah, so basically, I was just saying that you hit on something there that I think about all the time. Before I was in this industry, I had another business, which I viewed totally as a business. And I currently have a sideline business as well, which I look at and think about as a business all the time. But when it comes to financial planning, sometimes you just find yourself doing stuff. You're in there, you're doing work for people, but you're not looking at the business side of things, which is quite stupid, because you can get sucked into a lot of work and a lot of time. And it's actually, you don't look at it like a business model. You don't think about exactly how you do things. You just do the next case that comes across your path. And yeah, to me, that's really weird, because I generally like business. Like I said, I've had another totally different business before, and I still have a sideline business. But when it comes to this, I quite often just get involved in just wanting to help people and do things, and then sit back and think, how stupid am I? Because I'm actually not really even making any proper money or structuring it properly. So yeah, I thought I'd just relate on that point to you.
Yeah, thanks, Andre. Thanks for that. It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, yeah, you're the same person, yet when you're looking at, and could I assume that the other businesses are not as personal, human related as personal? I don't know, but am I correct in that? Yeah.
So I had a beverage business before, supplying like hotels and restaurants and coffee shops, etc., with beverages. So that's more like B2B, although you build close personal relationships with your clients and stuff like that. And then my other business is that I have at the moment on the side is I have a photo booth, and then I take like pictures at people's parties and stuff like that. Yeah, so it's totally different, but yet you look at that the whole time like it's got to run like a business. But this, I just tend to dive in and go, I'll help people with that. And yeah, for me at least, it lacks that structure, which is quite stupid. And I keep looking at it the whole time going, I must set it up more and structure it more like a business, instead of just seeing it as myself able to help someone.
And Andre, I mean, why do you think that is?
That's the weirdest thing. I have no idea. But I've spent a lot of time thinking about that now, and like you keep threatening, I'm really now gonna set it up and do it. And see Brian down in my left-hand bottom corner. Like I've chatted to him a bit about it, and I've looked at his website and how he's structured things, and I say, oh, that's perfect. I should do something similar to that. But then you get down the rabbit hole for a few more months again, and you haven't done anything about it, you know?
Do you feel, I mean, would you resonate if I'm saying that one of the reasons perhaps why you are scared to maybe charge more or not work for free, which kind of equates to the same thing at the end of the day, is because of the potential guilt that we carry around what we do?
Yeah, definitely. For a long time, that was a big part of it. I like even held myself back in the beginning, feeling like I can't approach certain people when I've only been doing this for 3 months or 1 year or something like that. So, because I didn't feel, I guess it's that like imposter syndrome thing. Although I had at that stage 40 years life experience and, done the study school and all the stuff you have to do when you start out in the industry, and was always interested in the stuff anyway. I held myself back. And then I guess the next part of doing it, when you're holding, or at least for me, holding myself back, was that you feel then guilty about, you've got someone telling you you've got to do a certain amount of production and you've got to make a certain amount of commission. And I like money and I like business, which is also weird, but you feel it's wrong to just go in there now and do whatever business just to make money. So yeah, there's a combination of things holding you back. And now I'm at that stage when I'm comfortable with, well, I've started doing the lifestyle financial planning. I'm bringing more value than just selling a product. But yet there's still a part of me that's not fully setting it up like a business and going out to people saying, this is what I offer, this is how much it costs, this is the minimum that you need to do, or whatever. I'm still in the case by case, like not backing myself to set up a full-on structure and say that this is what I do. And if you don't fit into that structure, then maybe we're not the right fit, and move on.
Yeah, great. Andre, thank you so much for that honesty. I remember when you first joined this group, I remember sensing that you were like quite angry in a nice way, towards someone like myself who you deemed as having this huge book of business that, we could do business a certain way because we had reached a certain plateau of income coming in. And I sensed the frustration with you as to, and I know it was around the whole AUM model versus flat fee and everything. So we're not going to get into that. But I think a lot of that is, as you say, is the guilt. Anyone else want to share? Oh, I'm just going to pick on you. Simon, great to have you here. I know that, again, where you've come from and that you've moved into a family business. I'm not sure how you're remunerated. I don't think it really matters. But I know that your father-in-law, I don't know him, but I sense that he is a proper businessman. So that he would, the different business interests that he has all need to run at a profit, and he's very sharp around that, and that's why he's been successful. What was it like for you? Because I've got no idea, so I'm reaching here. Coming into that business, and then I would imagine it's your father-in-law. You've got to prove yourself. He's had his way of doing things. You got the way that you want to do things. So trying to change that, and then at the same time, also I know you had been watching over your shoulder, making sure that you can prove to him that you are adding value financially to the business to justify your income, and then also potentially looking at what your future income is going to be in that business. So there's a lot there. I'm just, whatever you're willing to share with us around that.
Yeah, sure. So I think it was a lot. We didn't have a session. I think we've skipped a session or missed a week, but referring to the last session, it was, I was driving on my way to Grahamstown, so I couldn't really contribute, but I listened in very closely to what was going on. And the sharing and the experience that people are having at different points in their career, but maybe in the earlier parts of it can be incredibly tough. And that resonated big time with me because I started in the big corporates at Liberty and sales meetings and chasing targets and all that sort of thing. I know how tough it is out there. So I've been across the spectrum, because then I then went to a very cushy business where chasing after leads wasn't an issue. We got leads each and every day. It was about how you could go about converting them into clients, which for me was a completely different environment. The reason I mention it is that when I came into this business as a family business, I had the full experience of the advisor who has to start out with nothing versus someone who's got the leads issue taken away from them, and then is somewhat a balance of that, because I came into this business with it being established, but at the same time, like you say, the comfort of being in an environment where someone cares for your success, but at the same time is a businessman and wants to see you, not only for himself and the business, but for yourself to take on the challenges of almost having to restart again within a sort of protective shell. The way I was remunerated initially was to take a draw from the business, so to live as low as possible, and essentially not in the formal way of a loan, but essentially every draw you take each month, as you guys can imagine, you've got no income being produced yet until you can slowly build that up. So that was a mutual understanding from the beginning. So no freebies, unfortunately, but at the same time, you had the comfort of knowing the draw that you take each month is always going to be there in the good or the bad months. It's just how you end up having to catch those sorts of things up over time. So the incentive was to get moving very quickly, but unlike going out into the advisory world completely on your own, there are already, for example, we had short-term insurance clients that could be approached who weren't yet life and invest clients. So it was a softer in, there was already a relationship where you just had to sort of grow that into other parts. So that's a completely different entry than most people have. So call it what you will, maybe an unfair advantage or a benefit of joining a family business. But that was a great alleviation. In terms of the remuneration, we do, rightly or wrongly, that's why we're always on these calls to see how we can sort of adapt and grow in this space. But the fee and how we earn, I don't earn per hour or per session. It's not retainer. It's a combination of AUM and obviously any risk business that is generated. So I work on like a cost to company basis, and it's about covering cost to company, and I've got every expense you can imagine running through my cost to company, from phones to office rent to my PA, everything that is a cost related to me. I run almost like an individual business within our company. And I think the big reason for that is, like you said, my father-in-law has probably been looking quite forward to moving away from the advisory space. He's been doing it for 35 years. He's got fantastic relationships, but he by nature, I think, has always been more interested in running a business and delegating, maybe the face-to-face stuff to people who he himself would admit is probably better relationship people, even though he's excellent at that. I think he prefers the business side of things. So I think it's been a combination of getting here to this point where he sort of said, you need to take over the relationships now. It becomes less about strictly cost to company and covering. It's about, right, your role now is to look after these people well, and he will sort of take the more top house view without having to do the actual financial advice. And who knows, maybe in time we will sort of grow and get someone else to sort of either share the load or do a bit more. But I'm not responsible for doing any of the business costing or the running of the business outside of my own cost center. If that makes sense. So yeah, it's been quite a ride. Hey? It's been 8 years where during those 8 years my personal expenses have shot up exponentially. So every time one would have liked to sort of enjoy the fruits of their work, we've either had another child or gone into another phase of life. So I've never really been able to sort of enjoy it personally, but I mean, I have in many other ways, just from kids and what you get from that bigger picture stuff. But yeah, it's I think being part of this group, that's why I always really appreciate everyone sharing, because I know how difficult it can be, even when you have what's perceived to be, an easier start, or there's challenges across the board. I mean, Dirk will tell you, running a business or changing, Andre mentioned, you're so busy trying to see people, and if you invest a bit of time into upgrading a website or changing your branding or whatever it may be, you need to do it, but it simply is trying to find the time to do that when you're actually doing the job of a financial advisor is incredibly difficult. So to jump between the two hats of business ownership or improving and advice is very tough. But yeah, so that's kind of my setup within the business. Same.
Yeah, thanks. And Simon, 8 years in, with a growing family, is it stopped now, by the way?
Yes, we've made sure of that both ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. No, well, not good, but yeah. Has it changed the way that you look at potential clients or even existing clients? And just be completely honest here.
Yeah. I think that's something I probably need to work on. I think when you asked the question in the beginning of the session, we put it this way: we don't turn down clients, so we get referred, everyone across the board. And I think that's why when Andre mentioned it, I too get very much trapped into helping people from the get-go that it's not a good business decision at all, and I can tell you that upfront. But at the same time, I'm very happy to do it, because that is what I enjoy doing about this job. So probably not the best business decisions get made by me, but it is strange, because I'm sure everyone has experienced this in some way, that, and it varies, because yeah, I'll make another comment on it. But if you put in the time, which often seems aimless with someone, or you spend a lot of time initially setting up someone's plan and helping them out, you don't directly benefit from it immediately all the time, but often that comes back tenfold in other areas. So I suppose any business is like that, whether Andre mentioned the B2B stuff with selling beverages, and if you build relationships, you get pushed onto someone else. So I'm sure it's not too different in many industries, but I just often feel that intangible input you do with someone, helping them now and not necessarily seeing the reward, comes through somewhere else. So I think personally I've got to a space where it's gone beyond the monetary side of things now. Family wise and cost monthly stuff, we'll be growing, and my next teething issue will be, how do I share the load with someone else to come in? But from a business perspective, I could definitely refine who I look after, or sort of slice things up. But at this point in time, I don't need to, and I'm very fond of the relationships that I've made. So it's a very tricky one. I'm probably not the best person to either guide someone on that. I think it's probably a 5-year plan away from when I really need to sit down and say to myself, okay, you can't do this. Rather bring someone else on board who's got potential and who's keen, and they can maybe start to help people that I feel from a business perspective I'm dropping the ball, not spending the time where the money sits. But for me, for right now, it's not really about that. I prefer to help whoever I can, which is dangerous. I'm sure you can tell me I need to be careful of that.
No, there's no judgment. The reason I brought up the subject is because I think it's something that we all battle with. Because I think if you're a good lifestyle planner, your first go-to is wanting to help people, and then the battle is, how do we turn that into something where we're able to survive, live, and even thrive. Thank you, Simon. Thanks for that.
And just
Brian,
Dirk, just a last comment on that. I think one of the things you asked, why do you do it? The impact you can have is often such a rewarding feeling. And I often find that those who need the guidance most, it can have the biggest impact. So, for example, a young person starting out who's not going to make you any money, if you spend the time in setting them on the right path, you already know what their future could look like, if they just had the guidance. So it's very tricky. You want to make that impact, but necessarily it's not going to help you, personally, or not from a financial reward perspective, at least. And this is the other thing. Do you charge them an hourly fee or a setup cost? But at the same time, they don't have that outlay. So it's a tricky one.
Yeah, we're not going to get into fee models, but
yeah, sure,
something that we all battle with. Personally, what I've always looked at is being able to build a relationship, because then for me, that I look at what I call the lifetime value of the relationship, and that value including financial value. So very often, if we look at I've got a client who was earning $6,000 a month when I started working with him. Is now worth probably 150 million in all his assets, business, property, investing. So you never know where it goes. And but what we do have there is a strong relationship, and that's led to that overall. So yeah, Brian, I'm going to pick on you. You came to this a bit differently, I think, to most of us, and what I mean by that is you were older, more mature, you had a different career, and then you made a career change. When you started off, you were in the older model, and then you transitioned into where you are now. Now, what I'm interested in is when you were doing your planning, and even now, when you were working on, again, this isn't about how we charge, but when you were working on your pricing model and how that would all work, I would imagine that you need to draw up some spreadsheets and kind of work out what you needed to be able to support your family, yourself, and to build a business that would be profitable, which would mean that you would naturally you would exclude certain people from working with you. Can you maybe just share some of that process and the feelings around that with us?
Yeah, no problem. So we do say no to a fair amount of referrals that we get, either because they're not ideal for us, they're not going to work in a personality perspective, either because I know from the first few minutes that they can't afford to work with us, or because of timing, because of what they will. I've had 3 or 4 leads referrals in the last 2 or 3 weeks where I told those families that we can't work with you until the end of January because we're onboarding too many families right now and we're going to be prejudicing them. And so 2 of them said it's fine, and the other 2 or 3 so far have said no, they want someone to solve the problem right now. And so that's kind of the discernment we make. But I think before we come up to talk about how I calculated that and how I got to that point, I think, Dirk, you said I come from a different industry. It's strange to me it's strange to me having run a different business before, that we would have a meeting to discuss the merits of being profitable as an advice business. So what I want you all to do is to try and remove yourselves right now from the advice industry and think of this as a business person. A lot of us are advisors and we work on someone's license, but like Simon said, we run our own business. That opening salvo of this conversation would be completely bonkers because it's obvious we have to be profitable. But because of the work we do, which is quite vocational in a way, because we meet people where they're at, we help people, we saw the whole thing in the chats, we all want to help people. That's awesome. But our cup's got to be full first before we can give anything away. And so the thing is that it's weird for me to see that. Now, if I look at the problems that advisors have generally about earning, about being profitable, they firstly have not thought about it as a business. They thought maybe themselves as someone who freelances to a degree. We freelance. We make money by selling a product we have nothing to do with. And we will work with anyone. And so we try and broker that relationship, hence the name. And so it's a game of numbers. And so I can see why profitability is no longer in our hands. We're outsourcing everything we have control over in the world to others. But once you start setting parameters in place of who I will work with and who I won't work with, what you're starting to do, in my opinion, Dirk, is you're starting to value yourself. You see, at the end of the day, my opinion, which might sound really harsh, but we only earn what we believe we should be earning. What I get paid is inextricably linked to my value. And so if I play a game where I have to sell a few products and maybe, it's a numbers game, and then I moan that maybe I'm not selling enough products or I'm getting clawbacks, then I've got to make peace with the fact that I've surrendered my destiny to a game that someone else created for me. Now, a lot of people can do that. A lot of people on this call can do that, and you can do it very well. I'm not one of those people. And so what I decided was I won't work for free, excepting the 10% of our clientele will pro bono. And so what I will do is I will charge. And so then we had to work out the cost of doing business, which is relatively thumbsuckish, but it's a starting point, right? So you say an average year in the life of a client, we do this, we do that. What does it take? My input costs are so on. There's only so many hours in the year. If I want to work, my costing is based on 10 to 10.5 months of work in the year, profitable work. And then what you start doing is on a spreadsheet, you can imagine then it kind of leads you to what you should charge. Because at the end of the day, my salary, Teresa's salary, and future staff, their salaries will be the largest costs. And so what you have to do is you have to kind of work backwards. When you work backwards, you add cost, you add tax, you add VAT, you add everything. And then you say, I should earn this much from a client who I do this much for. I should earn that much for a client to do that much for. Now, when you do that, what you're doing is you're assigning a value to what you do. assigning a value to your IP, all the degrees you've got, all the books you've read, all the time you can't sleep because you're thinking of clients. And then what you do is you start looking at who's going to help lift your business up or who's going to drag your business down. I've got staff, I've got Charisse, I've got myself, I've got a family. I can't be dragged down. I've got 10% of my client base is pro bono on purpose. I can't drag them down. And so I need to fund this. And so that is why how you get to the point where you speak to someone. And Charisse saw it for the first time the other day, a couple. And I said to them, I said, there's no way is what I do, you can afford. And they're like, yeah, probably not. And I said, and I referred them away. And so I've referred several clients away this in the last quarter. I've got 3 clients this year from other advisors who referred to me. And they didn't want anything from it. A bottle of whiskey, apparently, but that was about it. And these are very profitable clients that I've got. And so what I try and do is I find advisors as well who would meet that person where they're at on their price point, who would add value, and who I would trust my brother or sister to as an advisor. And so then what I do is I save. I mean, the only thing I can never get back in my life is my time. That's why I got Charisse and a virtual assistant with Nadia, is to free up so I can do what I'm meant to do, and the business can grow. And so what I'm trying to do when I go through people I meet with is I'm trying to determine what's going to firstly fulfill me, what's going to be profitable, what's going to lift this business up, what's going to help all the clients that we serve. And then you just have to dispassionately, in a way, guide people away from you and refer them on to someone else. Never just say no, give them a solution. And the solution is another person I can refer to. Sometimes it's just, some people are so young, but they've been told about us or something. And I'm like, YouTube videos, there's this book, there's that book, there's these channels. Spend 2 years doing that, and then let's talk again. And so yeah, it comes down to me just determining what the life I want to live and how much I need to earn. And the reason is because I value the precious seconds I've got on this earth. And if I was in the situation where I was not earning what I believe I should be, and I was not as profitable as I should be, the only person I have to blame for that, honestly, Dirk, is myself.
Thanks, Brian. That's exactly what I thought I'd hear from you. Great. No, I think that's why so many of us admire the way that you've done that. And again, I think we all different personalities, which is great because our clients are all different personalities. And I think the way you've dealt with that is really great. So well done on that. What I liked about what you said is you didn't use the word, but intimated setting boundaries, which I think is really important. And it's not necessarily just about clients that will be, let's say, immediately profitable, regardless of how you charge. It's about clients who, and we learn to know these people quite quickly. People are going to come in and they're not really there for your advice. They're there because they want you to confirm what they think they should be doing or what they've heard. And it's quite difficult, especially in the early days, pushing those people and say, look, we're not going to work together. But I can tell you that after doing this as long as I have, that you learn that if you don't do it up front, it's going to happen down the line. It's just going to hurt a lot more because you've put a lot more effort in. You care, and that always makes that parting a lot worse. But it'll always be for the reason that you suspected it might happen right up front.
Yeah, Dirk, on that, just quickly, there's rules that I live by in the business. So we've got rules to live by. That's what I call it, as a document on my computer. And these rules were made in the sober light of day. But when you're with someone, like in front of someone, we had this the other day. Charisse and I were on a call with a prospect, and I was like, flipping out, this couple, they're really cool. They're not going to work for us. But flip, these are like guys you can go out to the bar with and have drinks with, go watch rugby with, hang out with. These are awesome people. But I made those rules. and I wasn't in front of people that I clicked with. I made those rules when I was a businessman. Now, it's like with investing. You can get shiny object syndrome. I mean, God knows that in our industry, we've got a problem with that. And so what you do is you set up rules to invest for clients. You stick to those rules. The market's doing this, you stick to those rules. And rules-based investing, rules-based living, and for me, is a very profitable way of living. You set up your guardrails, as Matthew Jarvis talks about. You set up your guardrails and you live within those guardrails. You set those guardrails up for a reason. When you weren't in a position of distress or despair or love or anger, you set those up when you were clinically thinking about what's the best way to run a business, to manage a portfolio, whatever the case is. And what you need to do is, in a business, I think, have someone in your business, at least one other person, a committee member. And if you're really thinking, oh, I want to break this rule, well, you've got to pitch for it. And then you've got to decide. And then the other person's not going to be in your situation. They're not going to feel what you're feeling, and they're probably going to shoot you down. So it's accountability and having those rules in place and remembering why you made them. And for the long term, it'll save you, I think, a lot of effort and money.
I agree with you completely. And what I was going to say is, one thing I've learned, and it's still difficult to do, so it's not something that I think you can turn on once and the switch stays up or down forever, is that, you will get to a time in your career where you get tired of looking after these people who don't value you. So what you said about valuing yourself is really, really important. If we're not going to value ourselves, there's always someone who's got more knowledge than we have in some form or in some part of this industry. There's always someone who's better at coaching people. There's always someone who's better at investments or has more knowledge on something. So, but that's life. The reality is that each of us knows way more than the average client that's going to walk through our door, even the above average client that's going to walk through our door. And I think that's really important, is to value yourself. And as you say, set those set those guardrails in the light of day when you're not under pressure. It's the same reason you draw up a marriage contract when you love each other. Or, because if you're going to get divorced, you don't want emotion to be part of it, which it is going to be. And the same thing with a business agreement. You set up those agreements not on a handshake. You set them up, when everyone is friends, because the only time you're going to need that is when you're not friends anymore. And then everyone's got a different view on the situation. Anyone else want to share? Either on their battles with this, where they've slipped, are they battling to put this in place? Cindy, I'm going to pick on you. I know that. Sorry,
coming.
it's coming, but I'll give you some time. Marguerite's put her hand up. So, Marguerite.
Yeah, I think I can lean quite into what you and Brian shared now, Dirk. If I look at my own life, I had two parents who modeled to me that we serve and minister to others from a place of emptiness. And it's taken me a very, very long time to come to the realization that's not the best way to do life. So I think if we find that we're grappling with certain stuff about maybe attracting clients to our businesses that don't serve our businesses and that we keep on pouring from an empty cup, it's an opportunity to go look inside ourselves. What is it that caused me to attract these kind of clients? And when I started out in the industry, I held the belief that clients that I'm supposed to help anybody that comes to me. And in the process, I ended up with clients that were difficult clients to serve for a number of reasons, be it a personality clash, be it that they weren't as invested in the process as myself. Sorry, I've got a frog in my throat. So all those kind of dynamics made the professional relationship feel like it was dragging or it was harder to serve these kind of people than other people who were fully invested in the process, who were keen to be advised, who were keen to go on the journey. And I think in the process, I've come to realize that maybe every client that comes to me is not because I should help that client, but because I have an opportunity to learn to set boundaries. As Brian said, by creating those guardrails for himself and the rules by which he lives, you come to it. Those kind of things don't happen overnight, especially if we're recovering people pleasers. It's a process to get to a place where you can actually say no to a person and walk away not feeling guilt-ridden or second guessing yourself. So when a client comes to me now and I have a sense that I can't serve this client effectively, it has become a lot easier for me to say no and to rather refer them to somebody else. And just the other day, I had a conversation with Barry, and the first question he asked me, what was your win today? And I have just come off a call with a client that I said no to. And that was the first thing that came to my mind, that I've actually grown in the space where I'm able to say to a prospective client, you know what, I don't think this is going to work, but I can refer you to somebody else. So that's the one part that I wanted to share. And then for those of us who really, really want to make a difference in this industry and want to work with people who don't necessarily have the financial resources to pay for our services in one way or another, what I've been discovering the past year is that there is tremendous value in group communication or in group sessions, and that people learn a huge amount from each other. And I think that is a place that we can explore, sewing back into our communities and into the lives of people who might not be able to afford our services, by offering them an opportunity to join a group conversation around money, where there's a combination of coaching and financial education, and even a bit of financial planning or budget planning or whatever, where you start giving them resources and tools, but you're not working one-on-one, you're working with a whole group of people. So for the same amount of time that you would have invested, you're reaching a whole lot more people than what you would have done if you were only working one-on-one. So yeah, those are just the thoughts that come to me off the top of my head.
Thanks, Marguerite. I can see that that's something that you've been have to sit with for a while, and well done on saying no. Sounds crazy. Yeah. Anybody else? June, I'm going to pick on you. I know you're not an advisor directly working with clients, but I know that you work over the years. You've worked with many advisors in the different roles that you've played within the Old Mutual organization. Can you maybe just share, because I mean, you would have seen every single type of advisor from the policy seller right through to the best lifestyle financial planners. And I know also with the work that you do now, you would have more insight into profitability of businesses and things like that. So, I mean, anything that you'd like to add?
Sure, I think I can, even from a corporate point of view. And I know it's maybe difficult for planners to see it this way, because I mean, I'm salaried, so I earn a salary. But I've always felt that I run my own business because I've got a business, and that business needs to be profitable for Old Mutual, or wealth, for the big Old Mutual wealth. Otherwise, why do they pay me? So when we engage with planners, it's about also understanding, because we've got a great value proposition. I mean, we've got financial planning coaching, we've got business coaching. So we assist planners in building business and applying business principles. So wearing that business owner hat. So we've got these different legs, but we can go in and we can fix, client engagements. We can fix the business. I have a very smart business proposal, but no inflows is coming to Old Mutual. That means, we're doing all this work, but it's not profitable. So, and I've had tough decisions. When we initially launched this value proposition, I can completely relate with planners starting up, because we wanted to get the value proposition out there. We just onboarded each and everyone that was interested in integrated wealth planning or lifestyle planning. And then eventually we did all this work and we spent a lot of time, and people did not support platforms. So there was no flows coming in. So we've become smart. And I mean, it was a learning curve for us as well. So we will now go out. We will give people a 3-month period where they can actually test what we have to offer. But then there's a partnership and there's a contract where we actually say, so, if you want to be in partnership with us, there needs to be some sort of support, because that's how the company is profitable and that's how I get my income. So I'm very, very sensitive to that, Dirk. So for me, although I'm salaried, I still feel the same principles apply. So we need to be smart in terms of where we spend our time, what we do, to also create value for the bigger Old Mutual business. I don't even know if that's gonna if that helps you, but we deal with PFA guys, and we deal with AdviceWorks, we deal with PWM, and all the guys that's been established for quite a few years are more and more wearing business owner hats, more and more. So they want to understand what it is that it costs them to come to the office and switch on their light, because they've got a lot of these practices are very big and they've got a lot of support people. So they pay salaries, they pay, a lot of them have their own offices, so they pay for that. And they want to understand what it costs them to switch on. So more and more are thinking in that direction. And I think my biggest thing with working with planners is, and I think Simon and Brian mentioned that, is about understanding the value that you add. You have to believe in yourself, because then it makes it so much easier to articulate the value that you have, and then, cost for that, charge for that. So, and I think that's one of the work that we do with planners that I enjoy the most, is helping them to actually realize and see the value that they add to their clients' lives. Yeah. So that's
Great.
me.
Thanks, June. Thanks, June. What I wanted to say with both Marguerite, I think how you've positioned it, and also Brian, where Brian has like 10% of the people he works doing pro bono. The whole, I'm just going to call it the guilt thing because no one else will, but that whole guilt we feel about this wonderful profession that we work in, because of how how many of us think the public perceive us. It's a really good way of kind of settling that guilt, is like saying, okay, I am going to do a certain amount of work for free or pro bono or at a loss. And that then allows me to focus on, so build it as part of your whole business process and your kind of offering. Someone has their hand up. Sorry, we've got a great attendance today, which is awesome. Zizwe, you got your hand up. You muted, Zizwe. Sorry, but
Sorry, I was just saying I'm fortunate to be part of the group, because I'm in a transition state at the moment. I'm having joined the industry about 10 years ago, but started basically as a policy seller, basically, to where I am now, where I'm looking at this as a business. And obviously this thing of now having to, from scratch, from even clients, I mean, I'm starting from ground zero, where now it's very important for me to actually be saying, who do I actually want to work with? And that's not an easy decision, especially when you're starting from scratch, because you also have a living and you also have expenses. But I think having to, like Brian was saying, to look at the value that you actually bring into the client's world and then start from there. I mean, previously I used to be a banker, and I used to look at the client with the value that's aligned to each client, which obviously coming into the financial advice as a policy seller, which I was previously, that was a bit difficult, because then how do you actually determine that value? But right now, where I am at, it's basically to actually make sure that I establish that, so that the practice can actually start to grow and put those boundaries in place, as Brian said. But yeah, it's not an easy journey, but it's a journey that one must undertake.
Thank you, Zizwe. Thanks for sharing. Whereabouts are you, by the way?
I'm with the FSOP now. I was with ABSA, so I've been in East London. But
are you in East London? Okay.
Yeah.
Where are you going?
Yeah. No, I'm saying I'm going to go work between East London and Johannesburg because my place is in Johannesburg. So the past 5 years I was just in East London for business. Yeah.
Right. Great.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks. Anybody else want to comment on that before we move on?
Dirk, I don't know if I've got much to add, but
sorry,
I
Sandy.
didn't come. What? Oh, no, it's fine.
ADD kicked in. Sorry.
I was wondering if I should share or not, and you know, so I don't feel like I'm a business person. I don't think I would have sat at home and thought I'm going to go and start a business and this is what it's going to look like. I fell into this, and very soon after I came to help my uncle, he died, and then the rest is history. So I don't have like all his old bad habits and all of that kind of thing. But for me, I honestly, and I know people poo-poo this, but I honestly feel that this is a calling, that someone higher up there knew what I needed more than I knew. And it's so perfect for me. So the job is so perfect for me. I love everything about it, except I don't feel like I'm a business person. And that is my struggle, because I don't want to do it for free, because I do think that I add a lot of value, and I know that I know that my clients value me, but I've still got baggage from taking over a book. And it's still so hard for me when people come through. Like I've had a few people come through recently, which is great. Like one is 31 years old. She lives in Switzerland. Her mom's a client. And I'm like, oh, do I feel like going through this whole process with her when I know she can't pay what I would like her to pay? But I can see her trajectory. You know, I took someone else on a few years ago that started with absolutely nothing in her city. She's now got well over R1 million. Yes, it's not paying me much, but the value that I get from that, and the fact that if she does stay with me for 20 years or whatever the case is, as you say, Dirk, the value comes later. So I'm really struggling with the fact that, and I don't want to go and work for another company where they've got everything in place and slot in, and these are the fees we choose, and I don't want to do that. This has to be personal for me. But I struggle with the fact that I love what I'm doing, and I think I'm really good at it if I'm truthful. And I'm very hard on myself. So even saying this out loud here in front of people is like not so much, well, it's the new me, not the old me. But I struggle with that business side. And I've got the business coaches, but I still like, that side I find exceptionally difficult.
Oh, thanks, Sandy. I hear you completely. Yeah, I agree with you. I've always said this is, they always say in our industry, they talk about relational versus a transactional relationship. I wrote an article once saying it's neither. It's a vocation. Almost as rough as becoming a priest or a nun. And you get good priests and good nuns and bad priests and bad nuns anyway, but let's not go there. But I agree. I think for a lot of us, it is a vocation. So it is very difficult bringing that business side into it. But perhaps maybe we're a bit older. And I've said to my guys for the first time in over 30 years, I'm feeling quite tired. And I think a lot of it is because we give so much of ourselves in what we do when we do it the way we want to do it, the way that we believe we should do it. And it does really can become really draining. And I'm in the position where, we're having to look and setting boundaries and kind of like, who do we serve? Who can we serve? Who should we serve? And I'm saying this because those of you who aren't there yet, you will get there. So the sooner you deal with this, the better. And as Brian has shared, and is an example, I think the sooner we do it, the better off we will be, both within our personal lives and in the work that we actually do. So like you know, the reason this group exists is so that you guys don't have to sit here, if you've been doing this for 10 years, in 30 years time, and saying, oh, I wish I'd learned this before. The reason we have this group is so that we can hopefully cut 10 years off your learning curve by learning through the group and some of the older people in this group. But yeah, I think we dealt with that subject really well. It's an ongoing challenge, and I think, yeah, Russell, you had your hand up. Sorry, I did see that.
Okay, great. I was just listening to everyone, but yeah, I think a lot of like valuable points, and yeah, I thought I'll just add on to like what most of you said. So, firstly, I think just in general, like you said, Dirk, most of us do this as a vocation, and we want to generally help. And Dirk, you know how I started. I mean, you reached out to me in my second year, and I've been at that point where basically you came into the industry and you basically wanted to help everyone. And I mean, for those of you who don't know, Dirk knows it in deep, but like I even discounted my fees a lot to just try and like accommodate and help people. And I think the first part of for any financial planner, no matter your age, but more your tenure in it, is like it's a lot more of a personal journey, because you are trying to justify the first few years, you're trying to justify that you can add value to yourself, basically. You're trying to justify that I can add value to clients. And what I learned coming up on 10 years now is that the first couple of years where you can land up in that trap of like trying to do that is that you end up over serving clients and you think, okay, I'm not going to charge, I'm going to give you more discounts or more freebies. And you can actually, aside from, yeah, you could help a few clients, but you end up shooting yourself in the foot more. At least that's what I found for myself, because I had a lot of clients where they didn't value the advice I was giving. And that was actually my own fault, because I had discounted my fee on my offering so much that to them, what it actually showed them was like, okay, you actually don't value the advice you add. So I think the important thing is like, you need to acknowledge and realize like the value you add to clients and how you can transform clients. It is worth something, and then, getting into the figure side, you could work out like, what is my cost to serve, so I think that's also very important that a lot of us tend to overlook. Secondly, I think to what Brian said, it's also very important to have guardrails, because I realized that also after the first 6 or 7 years is that when you start giving out so much of yourself, and no matter what anyone says, our profession is very personalized. We try to keep everything very professional. It's very personalized. Those client relationships that you have, they become so personalized because you know those clients. And the moment something goes wrong, or you feel like you're not being paid your worth, it can sour the relationship, and more so, even more damaging, it can help you. It could lead to like you resenting or diminishing your passion for the profession. So with the second point of why it's so important to have guardrails, I think it also saves you in terms of like your mental well-being, because if you start giving up so much of your time and yourself to these clients, you will get a good mix of clients that value you, but you also start attracting a lot of clients that aren't as invested, or they tend to take advantage of you. And I'm not trying to be fully negative, but the downside of that is that you find that you're spreading yourself too thin, and in terms of time, and there's only 24 hours we have in a day. And then you land up in the trouble of like, you flooded or overwhelmed by work. And on top of that, we still have compliance. We still business owners. We have to run our business as well. And now you're trying to also make sure that you give your clients the best advice. And without realizing it, you are so mentally fatigued, you can't give the best of yourself to those clients. So I think having guardrails also helps. And something that Brian mentioned and Margaret, and me and Monique were talking about now, it's like actually like a one page of like what boxes must a client tick, not just financially, that I want to work with that client, and because yes, you are charging a fee for your service, but you're also giving up your time, your effort, and your mental well-being, and your personal time to that client. So you go into that partnership together with the client, and I think that's also very important. We're not meant to say yes to every client. And then the counter to that, it's not saying it's profitability wise, but the counter to that is like what Brian said. We also do that. It's like, and we've done that with a few clients recently because we re-updated our advice process this year, is that refer the clients to someone else. You are still generally helping the client. And just kind of being honest, look, I think looking at your situation, it's low complexity. If it's a forward birthing, you explain that to the client, but then you just tell them like, I would refer you to this or this advisor, and the clients still see that as value because you're not leaving them in the same state they were before. Or what we've done with a few clients is that, especially existing clients that weren't as committed, and we've not to get into fee-based approach or anything like that, but we've updated our model where we have a hybrid model and we have a fee-based approach on our clients. So we had like a commitment talk or investor talk with a lot of our existing clients that weren't that active. And actually, a lot of them ended up converting to the model because they realized there's more now invested in. And the ones that we couldn't work together, actually, we still kept communication channels open with them. So it doesn't mean you cut them out completely. You could say, look, where you are now, your complexity is low, but let me WhatsApp you, or let's chat again in like a year's time, see how you are. Or here's my details, you can still come and contact me. So having that communication channel open still, leaves that opportunity to, like, if that client finances improve or they can afford you, they know they can still come back to you. You haven't like intentionally lost that client. But at the same time, you're not also giving up any of your precious time that you can't afford to now for that client. So I think having that open communication is still important. And letting know that it's not like you're saying they can't get access to advice, but you always be here in the future if they need to reach out to you. Yeah, so I think those three things are just what I've taken account, and also what June says, and that was another idea that we said that was also quite good, especially for a lot of clients that they don't know what they're getting out of a financial planner. We say to a lot of new clients now, because they also pay clients, just like, you can try us out for 3 months. See how you like it, see if you enjoy the experience. For them, the client gets to experience what it's like to be with a financial planner, a proper advice giver or lifestyle financial planner. And for you, you can also use it as a business owner to evaluate of like, okay, how things are working with the client, and is this client also going to be committed, or is there going to be some bumps that we're going to have to like talk about, so that you don't get into a full long-term committed partnership and maybe either side of the party is not fully happy as well. And then I think just on the time thing, is that what we started doing that could be a potential idea. If it's a client that you really want to work with and can't charge a full price, but you want to still take down, how you can protect your time, but still make sure you serve them and that you don't get superly overwhelmed, is like build something like what we do for a lot of our clients, build a year in the life planner. So you also manage the client's expectations by saying, okay, for you, based on your complexity, you can see me X, Y, Z a year or this amount of times, but you can still email, WhatsApp me and so forth. But you manage that communication expectation, because a lot of us want a trap of like, want to help everyone, and most of them are like maybe not paying our exact price, but then you become their financial call center, basically. And then those are generally, not all, but a fair amount of those clients are the ones that are like super demanding, or they have high expectations. And that's where we internally could be like, start resenting not just our passion, but like those clients more important, like, wow, you're not even paying me that much, but you like want my attention 24/7, So just some pointers I thought I'd share from what all you said.
Thanks, Russell. That's great. Yeah, I think also a lot of people expect us to work for free because they don't understand that they have been paying, regardless of how it is, because it hasn't been explained to them. So they do believe that they can come in and we're going to give them all their time and just help them. So I think, again, setting those boundaries speaks to self value. Okay, the guys, I think we've exhausted that. I mean, I know we could go on, but I'm thank you for all the interactions. I think it really is something that we all need to think about, regardless of where we are in our careers, especially if we're early on. As this is the last session, we've got 15 minutes. Yeah, maybe I thought if anyone just wants to share if they've had any major learnings over the last year through the group, or even not through the group, but anything that they've done in the last 12 months that has really made a difference to their work. Yeah, if they'd just maybe like to share with the group. Russell's muted. I see he's talking. One thing I've learned is that, geez, it works when you boot people, eh? We've got the carrot or the stick. It's not meant to be a stick, but it does work. And those of you know me know it's not to be mean. It's simply I don't want this group to become something that people it's like just convenient to be part of. You know, the whole idea behind this group is that people are committed and they give as much as they take. And I know some people jump on and get involved straight away. Shannon, you come to mind. And other people take a little bit longer to start interacting, which is fine. It's great. But the only reason we do that, and I've said, Alex, Simon, and Russell, who were part of this initial group, will know that it was always that, and I've always said that it's very possible that a lot of people will outgrow this group. As much as I say that, I'm not sure that's possible. But and you know, they move on to a different stage where they're either part of other groups or they just need to go away, put their head down and put their shoulder to the wheel and put some work in, and then maybe come back later. And that is the reason that I keep refreshing it every now and then, is because a lot of you guys do refer in other people, and they come on, they either never attend a session or they pop in for 20 minutes, and everyone's always too busy, guys. I've been doing this for 34 years. Feather in my cap, there are very few guys with my experience that will give an hour and a half a month, but I know how valuable it's been to me over my career when people have helped me. And that's why I've always said to you guys as well, always just give back. If you're too busy to give a bit of time every month, then you probably need to look at your time management and your life management. Yondele, you got your hand up.
Hey, Doug. So I think for me, this group has been such an important role in my career, in my journey, you know, and I think we underestimate the little that we give. You know, I had a wonderful session with June the other day. I've spoken with Brian and all of the guys in the group, you know, and it's everyone likes to talk about how lonely this industry is, but it hasn't been a lonely journey for me, you know. And I think it's the more we share, you know, and I would encourage a lot of people in the group who like to stay quiet and who are in the background, you know, to just share, because I've been helped by people who just, you know, they just talk about themselves, you know, and I think it's important to just share, man. And so I'm really grateful for this group. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say, Doug. So thank you so much, you know, for, you know, curating an experience for us younger planners to be vulnerable enough to speak, and also to say things that we might not agree with each other, but still have a platform, you know, to engage. And so it's a beautiful place. So thank you.
Thank you, Yondela, for always being brutally honest and for sharing your struggles with the group. I think it's very brave that you do that. And I think a lot of other people have similar problems, but are maybe not confident enough at some point to share them. So thank you for always being an active participant. Russell, you got your hand up.
Great, thanks. Yeah. I think what I could take away from this group for all of us this year, and actually just like reflecting on this year as well, is that to everyone that's in this group, is that, and it's also, Dirk, why you started in the first place. And I know it might take people to like time to like warm up, but this group is like a safe space, basically. I mean, we're not all meant to be like super successful planners that have no problems. Otherwise, what's the point of, like, I would say, what is the point of this LFP group in the first place then, if we have no problems or issues? So I think what I've learned, or what I can say from over the years, and especially this year, is like, this year, I think for a lot of us, it served as a safe space for a lot of us that are vulnerable or experiencing challenges, aside from like saying that the industry is lonely. And like without it before, we were all kind of like doing our own thing. And that very much, I think, in a sense, that is a safe space, is that a lot of us, what I felt from this year is like, there's no judgment in this group. You can be from whatever firm, whatever financial advice field, or whatever role, tied, untied, fee, whatever fee-based model, or how you do things. I think we all here to kind of like improve on ourselves. And also, from the nice thing about it is like, this group is also, we're not meant to all be in agreement on everything. I think the nice thing that I've learned over the years is that what you may think when you join the group it's also nice to just share it in an open kind of like safe space, because we are so used to seeing things from our perspective, but then learning how other people see it from their perspective could realize, oh, there's blind sides or blind points in like what I'm doing. I think a big thing that me and Monique did this year was like, I mean, finally got to it, but like that I picked up from Dirk and in some of our early sessions, we actually sat down and rebuilt a proper advice process. And you got a lot of the questions we had in our sessions got me to think of like more so the client, even though I've always thought about the client, but like realize like client doesn't know what they're expecting for the first 12 months. So things like that, and maybe there's shortfalls in the client experience for clients, or what are the type of conversations you're having with clients. So I always do take still to this day a lot of takeaways from this group. But I think going forward into 2025 is like, don't be afraid to share whether it's good or bad, or thoughts or what you've had, what you've experienced in this group as well, because you won't be judged. More so, you learn how to improve no matter how long you've been in the industry. And secondly, as well, I think for any new people that are joining this group, like we're not competitors here in this group. We're not competing against each other, Cobus Klein used to tell me, also in my second year, he used to say, there's more than enough clients out there for every financial advisor or planner out there. So don't feel like, oh, I don't want to share in this group, because what happens if someone steals this idea and then they go and take potential clients that I could have seen tomorrow away from me? There's millions of clients in SA. So I think that's another thing. It's like, don't be afraid to let your guard down, because you could learn how to improve. And to what Dirk said earlier, being vulnerable and open to learn could save you like years upon years of you enduring it by yourself, trying to figure it out yourself, when you could have like found the solution earlier within this group, Yeah, that's me. Thanks, Dirk, for a great year, by the way.
Thanks, Russell. Thanks, guys. June, I see you had your hand up.
Yeah, I thought a few things from this group for me is I love the honesty and vulnerability that we always get here, Dirk. So I feel we're always looking for topics and themes that we can build workshops around. So I've got a lot of stuff from this group, and I wanted to say thank you to everyone, because it helps us to stay relevant, and really whatever we kind of design speaks to what you guys are experiencing as challenges. So it helps me in the role that I fulfill. And then also, I think just in my own job for this year, what we've done is this year, that's made a major difference, is automation, which sounds silly, but the way that we presented, we rolled out, like, let's say, just the technical workshop, getting comfortable with the wealth integrator. And we used to deliver that one-on-one. So we've created recordings. So that whole workshop is recordings, and then there's one-on-one support in between. So automation to me is major. And I remember Russell mentioned something, I think in the previous session, Russell, where you said your engagement letter, or your engagement, what people can expect from your process. You also recorded something. So I think automation, I'm excited with, what we can deliver, what we can automate, so that when we have face-to-face time with our clients, or, that it's more impactful. So I'm really excited about that. And yeah, thank you from my side for everyone's contribution this year.
Great. Thank you, June. One more punt for Trap. Guys, if you want to listen to a podcast or watch the video, it's even more fun. I don't have time to do that. I listen to it when I drive. But I mean, that is a group. They brilliant financial planners in the UK. They keep it absolutely simple, be it their investment philosophy, be it and go back and listen to all the episodes, be it they each run through their kind of their onboarding process. They take their clients through the processes in their business. It's just great, because it's like this group. It's absolutely honest. They don't agree on most things, which is wonderful. And I think I think if you take this next month to think about, I think at the end of the year we always do kind of, after we get through the exhaustion, try and take a bit of stock of what we want to do differently next year. Even just pick one or two little things. Don't necessarily try and do anything major. Just think of one little thing that you can do, and just try and do it. That the whole story about getting 1% better every day. I think it's important. Sometimes we look at doing too much, and also, sometimes, it's and we're looking for a silver bullet. That one course, and don't take me wrong, but be it another coaching course, or be it another this, or another qualification, or whatever, it's really not going to make that much difference. It's the smaller things that are going to make the difference. both in how we deal with our clients and how we live our lives as well. The final thing I just wanted to ask, I know I mentioned it this year, and then we didn't, but I mean, what I'll do is I'm going to put a poll on the WhatsApp group, just asking who would be interested in a physical get-together. It struck me again when I went to the Old Mutual Wealth Conference in Fancourt and then to Ham SA, you know, meeting Marguerite for the first time in the flesh, and you know, just reconnecting with some of you others. You know, in this new world, we don't do a lot of in-person stuff anymore, and there really is nothing better than actually meeting in person, in flesh. So I'm going to put a little poll up as to who would be interested in that, and then based on that, we could maybe look at setting something up for next year, where we get together and, you know, maybe do one of these live. Not that we broadcast these things, but yeah, just on that. All right. Anyone else have anything to add before we leave? Okay, guys. Have a wonderful festive season. Look after yourselves, enjoy your families, and remain active on the WhatsApp group. If you need any help from anyone, there's always going to be someone here who can help you. Thanks for lucky. Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Dirk.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dirk.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Dirk, and thanks, guys, for a fantastic year.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.